the ROX Tigers with Linderong and Sungwon retaining their places. And where do you even go with the bans? Because Samsung showed a lot of flexibility. None more so than Cuvée, breaking out Kled and also the Camille. Way out of meta for the Camille.
Absolutely, yeah. She's really been struck with the ban hammer quite a few times. And now Core JJ, the immortal Core JJ on the bottom side of the map, is not going to have his Zyra, so he's going to have to change up that champ pool just a little bit.
Maybe we'll see the famous Core JJ Thresh, but no, we will not.
Nope, we certainly won't. He's going to choose to take that one away.
It's such an easy first pick that I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, Lee Sin now looking like a pretty reasonable option there for that one, unless Samsung want to ban that one away last. But there is a certain blob that needs to be removed from the Rift, and on the blue side, that is odd.
To me, a blue side Zac says that neither my jungler nor support plays Zac, which I think is unacceptable with the power level that he's at. At the moment you show the blue side Zac, it really does affect your drafting options in the future. So I think it's a bit of a black mark that they've had to ban the Zac on the blue side. It also means that there is the Lee Sin as the only top-tier jungler, at least by most Korean junglers' estimations there. They have identified Zac and Lee Sin as the S-tier. But speaking of S-tier, Syndra's been left available, but this feels like a bit of a reach to take it a first pick.
Almost feels as well like it could be something Samsung were predicting, although the Lee Sin would have been the obvious choice. Cuvée going to at least hover it for now, but it's always dangerous to lock in that Syndra so incredibly early. Lee Sin is going to be picked up and put in the hands of Ambition, his third unique champion so far in 3 games.
And I was going to suggest a Karma draft here just because you're on the red side, you have the flexibility of last pick, and Karma, if necessary, can build support items and just wave clear against a Syndra. So take it early. Very high likelihood it goes to support because Core JJ has played it when his Zyra has been plucked away. That means the jungle pool we're down to second-tier junglers, which wouldn't have been Graves on the MSI patch, but the last rounds of nerfs, no magic resist anymore, and also specifically the Q, the end of the line, losing a huge amount of base damage and ratio. Means that Graves no longer finds his peers at the top tier of the jungle.
Yeah, still going to be locked away though. Songwon going to see whether he can find some success on the champion. Still clears relatively quickly.
Definitely not trash, but just not
treasure, you know?
Exactly. And
Xayah.
We have seen Xayah a couple of times so far in LCK, and one time we even got the completed lane. Xayah and Rakan saw play in the EU LCS and the NALCS.
And
in the past 24 hours, and like you say, here in the recent past as well. So I'd be excited to see some Rakan on the Rift again.
He's so fun to watch there as well.
I'm a big fan of Rakan and Galio, just because you can flash during the ultimate from Rakan and also Grand Entrance into the Heroic Entrance, which ends up being just an incredible CC chain.
It's the entrance combo that we saw. Just everyone entering with different names at the beginning of it. As Talia is going to be locked away for Crown. Super comfort here for him, so opting in for the Talia Syndra matchup.
It is in many ways a self-counter pick, but Talia is very comfortable pick for Crown. He's going to try and stay out of damage range. We'll be taking probably the barrier like he has selected right now. Try to get through the laning phase. This does kind of show the hand though and let you know that it will just be a support Karma, so bonus information over to the side of the Tigers, and here's some respect also for the Xayah-Rakan duo.
Like it a lot. We've seen Xayah work on her own as well.
The reputation of the completed duo was starting to get pretty high in other scenes. Speaking to Korean AD carries and supports at the start of the week, people saying, not really seeing it. Sure, it's the best lane, but still Rakan struggles in lane, but feels like the respect is starting to be there. If you don't have other must bans, removing away a lot of the hidden power that the complete duo gives you seems to be the way that Samsung's going to kind of move forward with this.
Yep, I like it. Cannon, pretty understandable ban there, as Ezreal's going to be picked away from Ruler.
Ashe still available, but never really been Ruler's strongest. He tends to tend towards the Varus over Ashe in most situations.
Well, can go back to his Jhin as well. Of course, Ruler known for that in times gone by.
You see a Syndra and you are tempted to just stay the hell away and go Jhin.
Yeah.
Will be the Varus, similar range there as well, and Varus and Karma is a strong pushing laning phase. So let's see what the Tigers want to pack with the Xayah in the bot lane. will also have to blind pick top lane, which given QA recently is, here we go!
Is it? Whoa, it's just locked in. Okay, we got the Blitzcrank. Key doing his Max impression.
Apparently it's not just a Max special pick, more Blitzcrank leads to fireworks. Cool stuff here on the side of the ROX Tigers. Still have to blind pick against QV, who's shown newfound flexibility. Linderung having to blind pick in game one is harsh. He's gonna blind pick the Jarvan. Renekton and Rumble, both are available here and seen as good matchups, or you can go to what worked last time, and that is the Kled.
Oh my goodness. So QV probably pretty happy with that one, given how incredibly quickly that was locked in. So Kled, going to be his second time this time around. KDA of about 4, I think, last time we saw him on the champion, but it was just how oppressive he was towards the top side. But it's an interesting composition from the Tigers. We'll see whether they can make it work. The Graves is the biggest question mark to me, but otherwise, a lot of firepower in all of these lanes.
This is a fun one, Atlas. Whenever Blitzcrank is unironically picked, there's a lot to be excited about. Zion Rakan was denied, but you gotta really consider what happens here, Atlas, because guess what? The feathers go down, you have to move away from those. If the Blitzcrank hook is in the only open part of the lane, a lot of different mind games to follow, because whichever ability between the Xayah E and the Blitzcrank Q, if both are available and you don't keep your wits around you, you're gonna be dead.
You're going to have to be doing some serious geometry. We're going to have to get like Professor Vel'Koz on the table here just to try and tell us where the safe positions to stand are, because you put yourself in between Feathers and Xayah, then that's a bad idea. You put yourself between you and a Blitzcrank, that's a bad idea. There are so many vectors that you just should not be a part of, so this laning phase could be a lot of difficulty.
So it's going to be just a little bit more added time. From what we understand, it's a bit of a loading bug, means that we will have to remake the lobby, so a bit more League of Talk coming through from us.
Talk of Legends. Like it a lot though, but look, Xayah, always a fun champion to track, and I'm interested to see where she falls as far as priority.
And I'm interested to see a bit more Kled, because we had our first ever Kled victory in LCK when QV piloted it just a couple of days ago against SKT. It had been played 3 times in losing attempts. Now we get to see it against Jarvan, and given that Jarvan has become more and more of a blind pick top laner, we'll see how QV does in the 1v1, although there could also, of course, be the assist from the junglers. Graves has been losing quite a lot so far in LCK, and we'll see if Sungwon can right that particular trend.
Yeah, Spirit, of course, jumping on that losing train for the Graves. Now last
Who would jump
series.
on a losing train?
Well, I know, this is the thing. You don't jump on a losing train. It's a bad idea.
You
However, he still did
the
it.
hype train!
The hype train was losing, Papa Smithies. He had the ticket, the stub. It said, this is the hype train. But really, we didn't see it was the losing hype train. That had been ripped off.
I'm not into the Taliyah versus Syndra hype train, but Crown is a exquisite Taliyah player. I imagine we'll have to rush the Banshee Veil, and new Banshee Veil is an indirect nerf to the Syndra, because you can get ability power and also largely safety from a Syndra. If you go Barrier and Banshee Veil, then you're probably not going to die, and you are getting a little bit of the good stuff, bit of AP, bit of cooldown reduction, so you're starting to get a build together, but the bot lane's where the true interest is.
Yeah, exactly. Xayah against this Varus that Ruler picked out. Of course, having a lot of interesting bans thrown his way. Caitlyn and Ezreal being taken off the board, but it has been the picks like the Ashe and Varus that have been most popular recently. And Ruler foregoing the Ashe, as did Songyun. It's going to be the Xayah and the Varus here as key. He's the one with playing with fire.
He always did it a bit differently. His Bard was playmaking that took them over to IM last year. I guess 2 years ago now. He really made an impression specifically on that Bard. It's another B support, but it's Blitzcrank.
Oh, yeah.
Max has already made it work once this season. We'll see how Key can make it work.
Super exciting. Whoa, I'm excited to see exactly how it's going to go down on the bottom side of the map. Both of these teams poised and ready, and Samsung on a bit of a tear at the moment in the LCK, and we'll see whether they can continue it in this series.
Should be a really interesting one to see. Kled versus Jarvan could have big implications on the meta. We'll see if the Kled just overpowers Jarvan, or if it's another Jarvan lane where blind pick Jarvan can become a real strategy.
Yeah, and also see whether Linderung can fully bounce back as well from previous times. We know that QV, there's no question marks there. This guy is certainly hot trot at the moment on the top side. No pun intended given his current champion choice. The Jarvan, certainly a strong pick in the current meta.
And if Samsung can 2-0 and Cuvée continues to look like the meta is favoring him, I think they really will be the first true trendsetters of LCK Summer.
Yeah, certainly are. Both the teams still just getting ready to get onto the Rift. They're trying to keep us poised and ready to get into this one because
should be any second now, Atlas.
Yeah, any second now. I just wanna be watching some League of Legends, Pop Smithy.
I want some Blitzcrank hoods to start flying. I think it might be time.
Yep, let's do it. Let's get onto the Rift right now. All right, fans, still staying up for this one, Papa Smithy. As you can see, Samsung racing through here.
Do have that ROX surfing to allow Crown to get in a cheeky ward if he wants to.
I like how when you're ROX surfing, you look like super chill and lazy, but you're going faster.
You know what I don't like?
What don't you like?
Piltover Customs Blitzcrank.
Oh.
Not a big fan. Pretty low on my personal Blitzcrank tier list.
But when there's definitely not Blitzcrank, why would you ever choose anything else?
I'm actually an Blitzcrank, man.
Oh, no, but isn't that like, dude, it feels cheap.
It was on release. On release, you really couldn't tell if it was hooking or not.
Yeah.
But they did change it, so it's a bit more obvious now.
Yeah, Blitzcrank is nice. I don't like to be... No, I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to go into that at all. Not going to start an argument.
Something, Apple and Android.
Yes. No, not Android. It's the Apple and Pete. You know, never mind. Definitely not Blitzcrank is obviously the best skin anyway, so that's absolutely fine. Big Boss. Are you a fan of Big Boss?
Big Boss is all right.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Big Boss Vagar, man.
Oh, yeah, that's true. All right, we can both agree on that one.
Looks like Ambition's going to get a sick leash.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Bear trap well and truly on a rope.
I think he might have got a little one stolen away. I couldn't actually tell for sure. We'll see if he gets to level 2.
Sneaky.
He does. Okay, never mind. Got all of the small raptors. Now, Songyun is on Xayah, who we very quickly learned that with Q and auto attack and the pass-through passive, does do a lot of pushing, but doesn't get a lot of help from the Blitzcrank. So you can see against double range, still will not be able to win the push war against Varus and Karma.
Yeah, very low range as well as the Xayah, so getting up to that mini wave to throw these things out can be quite difficult. So I think we probably expect it to be a rough time for ROX on this bottom side of the map early on.
But something level 2 with Blitzcrank Ignite is always possible.
Especially the level 2 from Xayah as well. If you take the double daggers and blade caller, you can get that root, then you get the real easy hook.
Well,
gonna grab it.
Karma was not interested in opting into chancing the arm of Key.
Yep, Core JJ's like, I got a KDA to look out for. I'll be out of here.
To be fair, Blitzcrank with Ignite is usually a surefire sign that your KDA is going to start dipping.
Yep. Well, it depends. Key's still got to prove himself here.
Because we don't see Rakan in the lane, it's not going to be W level 1. In the EU LCS, I believe it was against G2, so it was Roccat took the Deadly Plumage at level 1, and that meant that Xayah and Rakan both got the benefit and could just run at the enemy team and win trades very handedly, but it's Q into E in this matchup.
Oh, Crown already getting stunned out. Mickey going aggressive.
Going flat magic resist blues, so a lot of respect even in the rune page here. Ability power per level and maybe a couple of cooldown reduction blues. Cooldown reduction per level blues is the standard, but barrier. So if you're going to self-counter pick, he's definitely going the safer route.
Not trying to keep himself as safe as possible. Ambition still just roaming around this jungle. See Songwon doing a great job farming things out, but that is the Graves way. Ambition looking to try and get things done early. See where he's going to be able to go for that. Pings towards the top side as Linderung maybe in trouble, but trying to think against it now.
Q to last hit minions.
Very aggressive.
Bold choice.
Oh, Crown. Looking for it onto Mickey here, but the slow, it's going to be enough.
I'm guessing he must have got a full rotation Q as Linderung.
All right. Ambition misses the Q. Nicely done by Linderung, though.
Yeah, he tried to buffer it early and catch Linderung during the flag and drag, but was too late on it.
So a few attempts, but not too much going to be gained. Linderung still struggling a little bit in this lane, but only behind a couple of CS. Not entirely worried. Keep soaking a bit of damage, but that's what a Blitzcrank is going to do. As Crown dodges. Does, of course, have that barrier. Songwon not going to be able to find any sort of kill threat. Both summoners kept by Crown.
We complimented Crown for some of his dance moves, kiting away from line skill shots last time Samsung played. It looked like he had Ghost, but that was just him being on form with his sidesteps.
Ambition.
He's already used his W.
Does have to be careful of Mickey. I'm glad that you kept track of that one, Papa Smithy, after our last series.
I was just struck by a lot of junglers kind of reminding us that, hey, don't use your W for jungle speed or anything. If you think there's any threat of being invaded, just get away. Turns out Safeguard has a shorter cooldown than Flash, shouldn't you?
Huh. Surprising. Well, 40 to 37 in the mid lane, so in a losing matchup, Crown still absolutely fine. Even with a little bit of threat from Songwon thrown in there.
He knew what he was doing. He's very practiced on both these champions. Syndra is his go-to now that Victor is not in the meta. So Talia is the other champion he spent a lot of time on. Null Magic Mantle Rush. Could actually be double Null Magic Mantle, double Doran's Ring, because you could go Merc Treads into Banshee Veil. Doesn't build out a Negatron Cloak anymore.
Oh, Weaver's Wall's going to come in. They're looking for this gank on the bottom side.
Nice
the immediate hook onto Crown. He will have to flash away. The barrier, the heal, everything's going to be used. I think he will survive and still goes in for the damage. But gets 3 summoner spells for his trouble and keeps his flash.
Incredible, honestly, that he held onto Flash in that scenario. I think almost any other mid laner would have used it, but seemed to trust his health pool to a T. Also had the heal come through from Ruler, so does actually cost 2 summoners of his lane.
Okay, he's looking for the Miracle Hook. Doesn't get it. That's going to spell Mickey's exit from the river.
And Key has Flash himself, but both Core JJ, Ruler, and as we mentioned, Crown didn't flash either. Sungyun had to use everything when the Weaver's Wall entered.
And looking towards the top lane, we need to ask which one went back first, see who the copycat is. It's only a refillable potion putting Cube ahead.
You really want Tiamat first, if you can afford it, but against Jarvan, the base values are pretty severe, so respect shown by Cuvée. He's going for a walk. He's got Mobies already.
Going for a drive.
It's true.
This silly skin. Sounds a bit like silly string. That's neither here nor there, as Key's going to find himself a ward and be completely shown for what he was trying to do. Big weave.
Good bear trap on a rope.
Yeah, he's going to get the pullback. Avoids the knock-up. Cute footwork there from Cuvée with a lot of extra movement speed now with boots too. He's starting to run away with this lane just a little bit. 13 CS in the lead.
BF solid start for Sungyun. It's probably going to be that Essence Reaver build that's been more popular in Korea than in other regions.
Yeah, I do quite like it actually. Bear trap pulls him back.
It leads to the 3-item power spike that seems to be the sweet spot.
Yeah.
LCK is always a bit of a slower region when it comes to the action happening, so Essence Reaver feels like it's viable when you don't have, you know, a kill a minute like other regions can certainly move towards.
Yep.
So Essence Reaver, Hurricane, and Infinity Edge, with the potential for a different Zeal upgrade, seems to be the favored choice in Korea, as they're going to try Linderung again.
Yeah, Bear Trap's going to come in, flashes out of the Cataclysm, but there's the kick immediately. The Gromp going to be picked up. I think Songwon's going to be the one to grab it. His ambition says, well, that was not exactly what I was going for. Crown has to get his way out. Mickey used the ultimate, was unable to get the kill, but Flash gained here by Crown.
Yeah, Ambition thought that he'd actually registered the Sonic Wave onto the Graves, but the Gromp tanked it.
Oh, Flash in answer by Core JJ. Keek didn't have to use his at all. Next one could be dangerous times for Samsung Galaxy on the bottom side.
Yeah, a lot of respect shown, but Exhaust was down for a couple more seconds, so safety first is probably the right call.
Oh, they're zoning him away from the cannon creep. This is a disaster. An awful thing to watch, but good safety to be played with here by Samsung.
Mid lane has been Crown, just playing respectful with item build, with runes like we mentioned, so he's perfectly happy to be 10 CS down, but no deaths to his name.
And what are we looking for here from Samsung? You said that, you know, it was Crown picking himself into a losing matchup, but why did he decide to do that? What's this Talia going to give this team composition?
I mean, it's a lot about 1-3-1. The 1-3-1's really, really powerful from Samsung. 2-item Kled we've seen many times at MSI doing his thing, and Crown on the Talia is much more happy in a side lane with the ROX surfing passive than Syndra is, and I gotta say, we've seen so much improved use of the Talia ultimate, the Weaver's Wall, as time has gone on. Permanent terrain for, 8 seconds at max rank has led to so many Baron secures and other neutral objectives, or even answering a Rift Herald like we saw in our first series. So I think Talia, it's basically, okay, we need some wave clear on the team. Got a very much a melee fighter in the top laner. Varus and Karma can't always be grouped, so it's more about global impact and a potential 1-3-1 because they're sacrificing the lane to make it happen.
All right. See whether they can actually get there, figure this one out. Of course, I'm never going to doubt Crown on the Talia. At any time, his ambition searches for a Q. Mickey's going to turn up. Does find the stun. Key should be able to find a hook here. There's the flash, the ultimate ambition. Almost dead. Oh, the pullback! But it's not under the target that they wanted. Crown still with the Inspire Shield there. Oh my goodness, red buff ticking down, but Crown survives.
Only just by a hair, both of them surviving. Like you say, probably would have taken the kill secure for the first blood. Don't get that. Cuvée thought about walking down and just using the charge to try to dissuade, but no health bars on the other defenders means the first brick goes over the ROX Tigers.
Yeah, nicely done. They're going to be able to get themselves to a decent gold lead too. 1,400. Bear trap and a rope, and the lunge not going to find anything.
Yeah, Cuvée roams, so he's actually about half a minion wave behind in terms of experience. We'll get to level 9 soon. But Linderung has already had a whale of a time compared to his last visit to the Rift, so...
He's like, I'm having fun again, guys. League of Legends is a great game. I mean, yesterday I didn't have a great time.
It's worth knowing that 2 days ago, I don't know if you could say he played League of Legends.
Oh, that's true.
It really did feel like League of Legends played him on the day, so...
It's probably just asking the question of, like, is this game supposed to be grayscale? Just trying to be all artsy with me.
By the time he stopped dying every couple of minutes, the game was well and truly already over. Janair was looking to ice it out. Ooh, the Blade Caller does hit there.
Yeah, it could have been an opportunity for Key. Interesting. Well, Crown was considering something towards the bottom side. In the end, just going to go back, grab that mini wave, having a look at the vision that they have available to them. They know that Key is moving up there. Pings immediately from Samsung.
So they've gotten Blitzcrank through lane against a Karma, but they haven't necessarily gotten epic pulls and kills. They came close a couple of times. They've blown a flash. You would still say that Blitzcrank got through lane, which melee versus range is always a win in its own right.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Xayah, not high range, you know, has a difficult laning phase at times too. Unless you can all in, things like that. Doran's shield makes it a little bit more difficult.
I mean, the one hook win game equation of Blitzcrank in the late game, you got to say there's still probably 4 people you're pretty happy to hook on the side of Samsung. Not really interested in hooking the Lee Sin, but even then may go for a less tanky build. So given there's a lot of targets, getting through lane is happy times for the Blitzcrank.
Yeah, certainly opportunities. Being able to grab that early mid turret. Also a fantastic story for the Tigers. Does mean that Crown can't have all of that freedom to move around that he does love to capitalize on.
Yeah, the 1-3-1 we discussed is so much less potent when it's kind of an emergency 1-3-1 where you just have to leave mid lane because you're behind in mid turrets. So no short lane for Varus and Karma to chill in the mid lane and for Karma to quickly move around the lane. Instead, it just extends the laning phase for the bot lane and also leaves Talia kind of stranded in mid.
Ambition finds that control ward.
Is that double null magic mantle build I was talking about with Crown, as he has the Merc Treads and now the null magic mantle completed for his Banshee.
Yeah, like it.
Banshee doing double duty. Helps him against the Blitzcrank too.
Oh, very true. No surprise grabs to come in from him. Hadn't actually considered that. I was just thinking about Mickey trying to get that Scat of the Week for the stun.
And for the millionth game in a row, we don't get any interesting drinks.
Oh man, this is crazy. Is the weather bad or something, Bob's? Like, what is it?
As far as I know, it's a sunny day.
Yeah. Like, we had a conversation about it before. It's actually been fantastic.
We've talked about the weather twice in one day. Probably a bad sign for our quality of our cast.
I don't know. People might be interested. Sometimes you've got to make sure that you keep the weather-inclined people.
Well, I know that
too.
when I'm just having a slow day, I pull up the weather in countries I don't live in. It's a really fun page turner, that one.
Hey, at least we were talking about relevant weather for the Smithy. Now we've gone to a completely different realm. But when it's 15 minutes in and it's 0-0, and the gold lead is not a whole lot to write home about.
It's a first brick turret.
Yeah, that is it. And that's basically the money that is accrued from that as well. So just needs to be answered. Crown, like you mentioned, has picked up that Banshee's Vow successfully.
And I kind of want to see a full rotation onto Crown, just to see how the new Screw You Syndra item build works. Sitting at 116 magic resist, which is a lot.
Linderun not taking a lot of damage here from Cuvée. For us, the Undying doing a bunch of work. Oh, God. This is just, it's triggering me, man.
You mad, bruh?
Yep. Heaps mad. Is that a colloquialism? I think that's a colloquialism.
Heaps mad?
I don't think heaps is used a lot.
Heaps is very Australian.
Yeah, that's pretty
It's heaps
Australian.
good.
Heaps good, mate. Okay, blue buff. Speaking of heaps good, it's going to be picked up by Crown if Mickey isn't going to try and steal that one away. Seismic shove gets it out of there. Now Ambition, he wants to be able to find it. Q does land. Key is here. Ambition does get the kick, but first blood goes to Key. Immediately answered, but there's the charge. Cuvée not deciding to jump in on anyone. All right, so first blood goes to the Blitzcrank. Is it worth?
Well, it ends up charging nowhere in particular, and I would say all in all it's worth because ROX get the first blood even though Samsung made the bigger play, and they get advantage in terms of CS in the top lane. You can see Crown also considering the Weaver's Wall to join the top lane party. Pretty much line ball overall because it wasn't long enough for Linderung to cancel the teleport and actually take top out of turret.
Well, now Samsung, what can they actually get done? This added space they were able to gain, especially in the mid lane. Mickey has himself the makings of what could potentially be a Void Staff very early, but also could be heading towards a Death Cap.
I mean, you see this new age build from the opponent mid laner, and having kill pressure onto the Taliyah is pretty important for Syndra, so I wouldn't hate a early Void Staff, doing your best Rumble impression, getting Void Staff second item.
Yeah, I don't mind it. We'll need to pick it up soon anyway.
Well, Rylai's is no longer a build, and that also builds in this build path, and Death Cap also. Don't know if that would be your second item.
Yeah.
So
well, that would be pretty aggressive. I'd respect it. Whether or not I think it's a good idea. Could theoretically build into Leandri's as well if he wants to forego getting the Haunting guys first.
Leandri's has always been a big pickup for Crown.
Yeah.
Loves it on the Taliyah, so Mickey picking it up is a possibility as well. When we do see Crown visit that Syndra, like I was mentioning, he does often go Leandri's.
Well, Ambition looking to try and solo down this Rift Herald. 18 minutes into this game. Looks like no one has any idea that he's taking this one down, so it will be gained by Samsung. And can they turn around this game by utilizing an effective Rift Herald?
I want to mention that Samsung, of all teams we've seen, has probably been the best at using the Rift Herald. They got the most advantages from it, getting one tower and most of the second inner mid turret, you'll remember, against SKTT1.
Yeah.
On the first day of the season.
So far, getting it has actually just lost them the outer turret on the bottom side of the map. So, ceding further advantages over to the ROX Tigers. Samsung just not looking like they're all that confident in what they can get done. They've got good vision, got a fair bit of control, but it feels like these picks are dominating their respective lanes, and Key's getting a lot of respect on this Blitzcrank whenever he isn't visible on the map.
Whenever you lose vision control in the bottom quadrant against a Blitzcrank, you know, Blitzcrank very often just spends his time chilling in the river brush, chilling in side brushes, largely just wants to be unseen on the map, because if you lose map control in the quadrant, like I said, no one can really enter that part of the jungle for fear of being hooked and instantly collapsed upon. So
yeah.
They haven't been able to enter the bottom side, and top side has been pretty even trading. Cuvée finishing the Black Cleaver has made it a little bit more one-sided.
Yeah, it's actually working out very nicely for Cuvée for what was feeling like Linderung had a fair bit of control.
But it just all flows on. You lost control of the bottom side. No one wanted to enter it because of the threat of the Blitzcrank, and thus the turret goes down in the bottom side. You'll notice that Blitzcrank had an extra shield around him, which lets you know that the quest has been complete.
Ah, nicely done.
You get a regenerating health shield as part of the relic line.
Relatively early as well here at 20 minutes. I like it. That is going to be the first tower of the game. Fans go wild. Samsung on the board with that one. Have picked themselves up a cheeky dragon as well, remember. It is just a cloud, though.
There's
the hook onto Ambition. Gets himself inside the wall, which is not necessarily what he wants. Yep, Featherstorm went down, but Sungyun unable to find anything.
Garang will back away. Cube had already started roaming bot lane, so could use the charge if he so hoped, but it's a Cloud Drake, so probably not really worth the contest by Samsung.
Yeah, it looks like they're happy just to trade that one out as well for a lot of damage here on this mid lane outer turret. Get themselves some free backs, almost towards Crown's coveted Leandri's Torment.
Oh good, another Cloud Drake.
Oh yes, the triple cloud. What does it mean?
It means bad weather.
Oh yeah, or at least 3 clouds.
Yes.
Yeah. Better sunsets if you got some clouds. Why? We're just always going...
Gotta always send it back to the weather.
Yeah, back to the weather, boys. That's what happens when you get crappy Drakes, everyone.
Well, we can talk about something different. We can talk about team comps a little bit. On the side of Samsung, you'd asked already before, and we talked about the 1-3-1. Another reason why you might want to go 1-3-1 here is that team fight on the side of ROX. You have the Xayah, who is actually very, very powerful in the late game, especially when going this high damage build. We talked about the Rift Herald. They love sending it mid. Goodbye, mid turret.
Yeah, it's just going to bop it. Are they going to be able to get another go as well as Ambition puts himself over, looking just to try and steal?
No, because this is what they've done. They've stuck it in the mid lane as everyone rotated bottom, and it will be 2 turrets from the Rift Herald, just not in the same manner you might expect.
Yeah, and actually Key trying to answer here by heading towards the top side. They have Cube trapped, gets the hook there as well, sets up his prey, but Cube is going to be fine for the moment. Ambition is just getting followed here by Linderung.
I really like it from Samsung. I already mentioned them and name-dropped them as the best users of the Rift Herald, and setting it up mid when mid turret was below 50% while the lane was crashing in the bot lane is the sort of play where you're getting multiple objectives from the Rift Herald, which I think is the future possibility of this buff.
Yeah, I really like it. Now that wave pushing on the bottom side of the map for Samsung as well created them a lot of space and control. Crown having a surf here in the jungle. That top outer turret will fall. Ruler just going to pick up the farm that's going to get delivered to him.
Yeah, because of the Banshee Veil, Crown can always take the more risky paths to other lanes, as ROX is, speaking of risk.
Okay. Head towards the Baron.
This is optimistic.
He was tanking it up. Mickey waiting to just try and delete whoever's going to try and enter. They do back away the Baron. Back away from the Baron. I apologize.
Optimistic with their waves not in the best spots across the map or any sort of forward pick potential. It wasn't like the Blitzcrank was looking for a hook or anything out of that. That was just a straight-up force that was very unlikely to work.
Yeah. Actually losing out quite a bit here as well as the gold within touching distance now for Samsung when it was about 2,000 for the Tigers earlier on. Of course, that Rift Herald play, a lot to be said about that one, but spending a bunch of time hitting a purple worm for no reason isn't ever going to get you to any good places.
Because the people that were going to contest it disengage first, get to the sideways first, and then you need to spend the next, what, minute and a half resetting the map to be even close to where it was when you started the Baron. So it's your forced time expenditure afterwards that means that Ambition can pretty happily start clearing, but he did use his W to do it. That's bad.
Yeah. He's going to finally get it back up again as he's now looking for Songwon.
We're going.
There's the charge. Cube's going to get here. There's the flashback as the Weaver's Wall is going to break up this fight. Sungyun has to flash. Cube very, very tanky as Ruler charging up the arrows. Mickey, no more Banshee's Veil, but Cube's going down very, very low. Kled going to run, Skull, sorry, going to run away, and then the Kled destroyed as Cube falls down. Samsung Galaxy going to run for the hills. This Baron has been started once again. Hail of arrows there, but remember, there's a rocket grab that needs to be respected now.
And no smite either as Ambition is dead, so very difficult to contest and force them to pull off. I think ROX is going to finish this.
Yeah, well, they're going to go for it anyway. Oh, Keith. Going to use the hook, but going to get flashed on Linderong. The three-man Cataclysm flashes his way out. The kills are coming left, right, and center. And Mickey's going to be the main one to pick these up. Crown now running. Fancy footwork once again as the threaded volley's doing work, but someone says, well, I'm going to put bullets in you, and that's going to end your tyranny on the ROX Tigers. Samsung 1-6. ROX Tigers look like a completely different team.
Yeah, delayed ace. We're not actually going to see the first pick, so I think the Featherstorm just caught out Ambition. He was one of the first people to die. Holds onto the rocket guy for a long time, this key. Forces Core JJ to flash, and then they were able to engage. Cataclysm was available this whole time as Songwon completes the Baron. Low away 2 and Crown. They were nice dance moves like you mentioned, but look at where he ends up dancing towards. You cannot miss the end of the line between two areas of permanent terrain with the remnants of that outer turret. And now ROX Tigers, very much against expectation, are looking to end game 1.
Yeah, feels like Samsung just haven't been able to make this composition work. Ambition not looking like the same jungler here on the Lee Sin as opposed to his Gragas that we saw first time Samsung hit the Rift against SKT.
This game was so finely poised, it looked like Samsung might be able to have the options to 1-3-1 and take it over until Ambition went too hard. And 5 kills in a Baron changes the face of any game. The gold was almost completely even between the two teams, and now there's a massive 5,500 gold lead.
Yeah, well, Ultimate is going to be thrown at Ambition.
He does have a Spirit Visage, so he's all right.
Yeah. Not going to have a red buff, though, for much longer, I don't think. Seismic Shove onto Linderong, but he doesn't seem too worried about it, even without much magic resist filter. Okay, Inspire with the mantra there for a team-wide shield, but it's not enough to save the turret as in goes the Weave as well. Everything being thrown into this one for Samsung, but look at the Cataclysm! The Featherstorm there as well as Songyun is going nuts in the front line of this fight. They pick up 2 swift kills onto the front line of Samsung, and this should spell the inhibitor unless Crown and Core JJ can do something amazing. Ruler's going to come back. There are low health bars on ROX, but there goes the inhib, and ROX should be able to escape.
Yeah, the struggle of Samsung is that they don't have any threat onto a backline. Talia and Kled usually can only hit the front line. Their abilities do not pass through, and Songyun on the 2.5 item Xayah has the pass-through damage to be hitting everyone as they were clumped in the Cataclysm. And Xayah late game, 3 item Xayah is a late game hypercarry. It requires certain situations. She is not the best at chasing, but if the fight is static or comes to her, the pass-through damage wrecks teams.
Yeah, just ridiculous. And the amount of almost team-wide CC that you can throw out as well with that Blade Caller, just insane. For making sure that you can land these Cataclysms, that you can land these hooks. The Scat of the Week from Mickey as well would never be that easy when you've got full teams just stunned everywhere. This takes a little bit of creative geometry and you're going to be totally fine as this inner turret, not long for the world, go the way of the mid lane inhibitor.
Hard to see how Samsung will find a way back into the game. Almost a 10,000 deficit after such a flawless series against SKT T1. They made one critical mistake and the game might be decided off it.
Well, he's going to get the flash hook. That's Ruler dead. His job is done. This could spell the end of things for Samsung. This inhib is going to fall. They've got super minions careening up the mid lane. Now only 4 members left of Samsung. No lot of damage. Another hook onto Crown of all people. Then Cuvée then has to commit to some sort of fight. He's not going to find Songwon. The Cataclysm's there. And that's the Kled dying. And Ambition, the last man up, he should fall as the Blade Caller streams through. And ROX Tigers will take game 1 against Samsung.
It's not a perfect game, Atlas, but it's eerily reminiscent of the first game of the day. ROX Tigers blitz Samsung. It was a couple of key decisions that did not go the way of Samsung. And ROX Tigers were clinical the moment they actually had the game in the palm of their hands.
Yeah, that was A beautiful performance. They had so many really strong picks here. I mean, if you go down the line, Xayah, now incredibly potent so far in the LCK. 75% win rate over 4 games. Not too bad at all.
You definitely ban the Xayah before you ban the Blitzcrank.
Or the Rakan, which was also banned as well. But picked in the first round, definitely a better move.
I think you can leave Rakan up. You just ban the Xayah early, because then Rakan and Blitz are a little bit less relevant. Sure, you can run Blitz in other lanes, but we already went over all the different things you have to consider in lane, and they got through lane as with a Blitzcrank, even against a Karma. That should never be possible. In previous metas wouldn't be, but they found a way to make the Xayah lane work. And even though Songyun had been spending almost all his time on a different kind of auto-attack-based AD carry and solo queue, the Kalista, the Xayah is also very strong.
And also rather similar as far as playstyle is concerned.
Sure.
There's something about it that sort of feels the same way. We'll see whether he does decide to bring out the Kalista moving to game number 2. They still need to back this victory up to the ROX Tigers, but if you want a redemption story, this would be our second one of the night if ROX Tigers can get another win here.
I just love how all our top teams, or perceived top teams, are getting shocked in ways and in clean games that I just couldn't see coming. This season, this first week, has been madness.
Yeah, what kind of rock, paper, scissors have we got from this tumultuous first week? It's
Who's
just
the best
ridiculous.
team in Korea?
It beats me. I was going to say Samsung. But
I
now
was
I
too.
guess it's Longzhu because they've at least won 2 series. I'm not sure, Papa Smithy.
If the season ended in week 1, Korea will be sending strange people to Worlds. That's what I know.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, game number 2, and we'll see whether ROX Tigers can back it up against Samsung.